AI is our topic. I'm writing about commercial breakthroughs. So AI has taken on a pattern of a specific kind of commercial breakthrough. So this is what I would call a gold rush or a technology gold rush. So in a technology gold rush, you get a discovery, just like discovery of gold. You get a discovery that nobody saw coming. Sometimes even those who discover it didn't know it was coming. What is it they usually discover? They usually discover a series of features in a prototype product or service that has wide appeal. Again, going back to this notion of commercial breakthrough. Now, commercial breakthroughs can draw on a lot of technical breakthroughs. And in the case of large language models, the core technical breakthrough that large language models are drawing on are two principally, but there's a number of other ones that are pretty important. But the two principal ones are transformers, which was a 2017 invention, and then neural networks, which the large-scale neural nets, which was a 12 invention. So we're drawing on a technical breakthrough. And in particular, we can now go into detail. OpenAI was doing prototype competition. So they would put out different prototypes to see how they were received. And that's very typical of what we see in just prior to technology waves. We see a number of different firms putting out prototypes where they don't know what's going to work. OpenAI was doing that, and they were deliberately trying to put out as many as possible because they didn't know what was going to work, and they were quite worried about being beaten by somebody else to the commercial breakthrough. They were behaving in a way that understood that this was where things were likely to go. So they, as everybody knows, they come out with ChatGPT, what we today call ChatGPT 3.5. That happens in late November of 2022. The thing about that, if you look at their own behavior, it's very clear they didn't even know if it was going to work. So it's a commercial breakthrough exactly like a technology gold rush. You have a discovery both by them and by anybody watching. So investors, buyers, all other suppliers recognize within a week that they have found a combination of features and characteristics that have wide appeal. So what typically happens in those sorts of environments? Well, if you're old enough, you've lived through a few technology gold rushes. The growth of the commercial internet, approximately late 1994, early 1995, was when those inventions happened. It's affiliated with the growth of ISPs and browsers. Another one would be the growth of the personal computer. That was another technology gold rush affiliated with IBM's PC, and earlier than that, the unveiling of the Apple II. Just to give you examples, this is not the first time we've seen a technology gold rush. So what tends to happen at such moments is investors and suppliers are now urgently trying to do investments in anticipation of getting commercial leads. They anticipate that the payoffs are likely to be far off into the distance, but they recognize that the commercial environment requires investments today, usually money-losing investments, in order to get strategic position, in order to be in a place tomorrow where you can make money. I could give you 25 examples of firms who've done that in the past, in past gold rushes, but that's essentially what they're doing, and that's also what many others are doing. Like other technology gold rushes, if I continue, the other thing that tends to be characteristic of these settings is you have at least a few applications or use cases that are clearly valuable. Doesn't mean we have the whole breadth of them available yet, but we're still in an early moment by technology gold rush standards. So in our case, do we have any use cases that are valuable? Well, yes, for sure. Coding assistance is one of the first things to come out of this. That's clearly valuable. It's widely adopted in the coding world. Fortunately, that's still only 2% of the labor force. That's a narrow, by macroeconomic standards, that's a narrow application. But that to give you an example. Another use case that seems to be pretty valuable is writing assistance, creative writing assistance, and research assistance. Again, pretty narrow part of the economy, but we believe that one will continue to generate value. A third one is artistic idea generation. which is pretty valuable in advertising and a lot of product design, architecture, and a number of other areas. So we see that application starting to be played out now too. That's not the whole economy, but it's something. And then there are a number of other use cases where I think the things are still pretty raw. We don't know yet if they're going to be very valuable. So why are we seeing this? This is not unusual for the first couple of years after a technology gold rush. It's very urgent investment to try to create value.